It's Tuesday, January 6th. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. A boy attacked on the weekend by 3 dogs dies of injuries. Convicted of fraud, sentencing begins for the former CEO of the IWK.
A mix of snow and freezing rain will create slick conditions in parts of the Maritimes on Wednesday.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. A boy attacked by a trio of dogs on the weekend has died in hospital. He was mauled by the animals while riding his bicycle. There's heartbreak in his home of Shelburne County, Nova Scotia, and that's where CTV's Hafsa Arif is tonight.
It's a quiet road in a less populated part of Shelburne County, a place where neighbors wave as they pass and everyone knows who lives where. Today, that quiet was broken by devastating news. A 13-year-old boy who lives along this road has died from injuries he suffered in a dog attack. People here describe a close-knit community, one that's now trying to come to terms with a sudden loss. Since the boy's death was confirmed, someone who lives nearby says the impact has been immediate and overwhelming. A distraught neighbor tells us that in a small community like this, everyone feels it. Now, police say the boy was bicycling near his home last Saturday evening when he was attacked by 3 large breed dogs. The boy suffered life-threatening injuries and was airlifted to hospital in Halifax. The dogs involved in the attack were later euthanized by a veterinarian. The municipality of the District of Shelburne confirmed the death in a statement released earlier today, calling the loss unimaginable and extending condolences to the boy's family, friends, and classmates. The Tri-County Regional Center for Education confirmed the boy was a grade 8 student at Shelburne Regional High School. In a statement, the center says, a loss such as this is felt widely, and we recognize the impact it has across our schools and broader communities. As for the investigation, RCMP will only say they're looking into the circumstances of the attack. In the meantime, as this community mourns, residents say their focus remains on providing support to the boy's family and one another. Hafsa Arif, CTV News, Welshtown.
It was a crime that horrified neighbors in Dieppe. More than 6 years ago, a couple was shot in their home. Today, the double murder trial of a suspected hitman began in Moncton Court. CTV's Derek Haggett was there.
Jansen Baker's double murder trial began this morning with the Crown prosecution's opening statement. The jury were shown crime scene photos of Bernard and Rosemarie Saunier, who were shot and killed in their Dieppe home on September 7th, 2019. A full courtroom heard an armed intruder under the cover of darkness shot the Sauniers in the head while they were in their nightclothes. The jury was warned looking at the crime scene photos would be tough. The couple's son, Silvio Saunier, was struggling with addiction and was living with them, but was not home at the time of the murders. The jury heard Silvio lived a complicated life and was involved in the drug trade. Police had made drug raids in Moncton 10 days before the killings, one at a duplex owned by Silvio. The jury was told Silvio's associates believed he was a police informant. The Crown alleges Nicholas Daniel Bain directed Baker about killing Silvio. The Crown says it will call a witness who will testify that Jansen Baker admitted that he broke into the house looking for Silvio and shot the Sauniers in Rosemarie's bedroom. The witness's identity is protected under a publication ban. He is expected to testify Thursday. Today's first witness was a family friend who was close to Silvio. She and Silvio discovered the bodies. Silvio Saunier died in 2023. Foul play was ruled out. Baker has pleaded not guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder. The trial will resume on Thursday and is expected to last 3 months. During the lunch break, friends and family of the Sauniers respectfully said it was their wish not to speak to the media until after the trial concludes. Derek Haggett, CTV News, Moncton.
A member of the St. FX athletic staff has been placed on leave after the university received a complaint regarding conduct. The university tells CTV News the individual has been put on leave while an investigation is carried out. Those involved are not being named. In an email, St. FX says the well-being of student athletes is the priority, but offered few details. Crown lawyers are recommending jail time for the former head of the IWK Health Centre. Tracy Kitch was convicted of fraud. Her sentencing hearing began in the Halifax courtroom today. CTV's Jonathan McGuinness reports.
The former head of the only children's hospital in the Maritimes heard sentencing recommendations in her fraud trial today in Nova Scotia Provincial Court in Halifax.
The Crown position, which I presented today, is that for fraud over $5,000, she should receive a sentence of 9 months incarceration followed by 24 months probation.
Senior Crown attorney Peter Dostal also included a list of other conditions, including for Tracy Kitch to not have any contact with anyone at the IWK hospital. Kitch's defense lawyer suggested an 18-month conditional sentence followed by a period of probation would be appropriate.
The offense itself is one that I characterize as a serious breach of that trust, where she, instead of using that money to help out families and children of Nova Scotia, she used that money instead essentially to cover her own personal travel expenses over several years.
Tracy Kitch was first convicted and sentenced to 5 months in jail in 2022. That ruling was successfully appealed and another trial was held. Kitch was found guilty of fraud over $5,000 in that trial. She was appointed as the Halifax Children's Hospital's CEO in 2014, where she had access to a corporate credit card. An external audit revealed Kitch had expensed about $47,000 in personal charges to the hospital, money she did pay back.
Her level of importance and authority within the public service was so great, and that violation of that trust was so great. Simply being confined to the home for, be it 9 months, or in this case, the request was 18 months, was purely insufficient to.
Chief Judge Rhonda Vanderhoek gave Kitch an opportunity to speak. By video, she said she was deeply grateful to have served as CEO of the IWK and was proud of what they achieved. Kitch did not offer an apology. Given that today was just sentencing recommendations, Vanderhoek said it wasn't necessary for Tracy Kitch to be here in person. The former CEO of the IWK hospital, however, will be here when sentencing is handed down February 4th. Jonathan McGuinness, CTV News, Halifax.
Online, we have a report on the sentence handed down to a young person guilty of assaulting Truro Hospital staff with bleach. More on this at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. A Nova Scotia snowplow operator was taken to hospital with undetermined injuries after his vehicle went off the road. This happened around 8:30 this morning in Margaret'sville on the Bay of Fundy coast. That's north of Middleton. Police say the plow left the road and hit a telephone pole. The road had to be closed for about an hour while first responders were dealing with the crash. There's a live look at Lunenburg Harbor right now, where it is 1 single degree as we get our first look at the weather. For that, we bring in CTV meteorologist Kayla Mitchell, and it was a big turnaround from, well, this time yesterday.
Yeah, it certainly was for parts of the region, especially areas around the Bay of Fundy coastline in New Brunswick and parts of Nova Scotia. That being said, we do have a wintry mix of weather on its way in for tomorrow, for Wednesday. For tonight around the Maritimes, expect cloudy conditions and some scattered flurries. Now, there is a risk of some patchy freezing drizzle developing overnight. So heading into the very early morning hours of Wednesday, there may already be some slick spots here and there around the region. Just keep that in mind for the morning commutes. And then we've got this weather system that's on its way in. This is a low pressure system currently making its way through southern Ontario. It has brought a lot of freezing rain to parts of southern Ontario. That freezing rain here is showing up on radar, highlighted in through the pink color. So you could probably tell that as this weather system arrives for the Maritimes, it's going to be a mix for us as well, with snow, freezing rain, and rain all expected. Taking a look at the risk of freezing rain, it's going to be highest in New Brunswick from between the Bay of Fundy coastline and up towards the Fredericton area, mostly Wednesday morning through Wednesday afternoon and into the early evening. Followed by that, there is a risk of freezing rain in Prince Edward Island, mostly Wednesday evening and Wednesday night. And for the higher terrain in northern and eastern areas of Nova Scotia, that would include the more mountainous areas, Cumberland and Colchester counties, as well as into the Cape Breton Highlands. This is a look at a point in the southeast of New Brunswick, just highlighting the potential for some ice accumulation for tomorrow. You can see that for that southeastern corner of New Brunswick, the freezing rain is expected to be fairly light through the morning hours, but then it picks up a bit in the afternoon, and parts of New Brunswick could pick up around 2 millimeters of ice. We have some special weather statements that are in effect by Environment Canada. They're out for the south of New Brunswick, as well as Cumberland County and northern Colchester County in Nova Scotia. That's where there's the greatest risk of freezing rain, with the additional potential of 5 to 15 centimeters of snow. Prince Edward Island isn't underneath that statement at this time, but I would caution that PEI could get into some similar conditions Wednesday evening and Wednesday night. I'll have more on that in the forecast coming up later on.
Okay, we will see you for that. Thank you, Kaylin. Well, we found out today that a new ferry will be plying the waters of the Cabot Strait between Cape Breton and Newfoundland this year. Marine Atlantic says it has struck a 5-year agreement to lease the vessel, most recently operated by a French company, servicing routes between Corsica and Marseille. Marine Atlantic says the ferry is due to arrive in Canada this summer, with plans to have it making that run by the fall. Threats of invading other countries and a large U.S. naval presence in the region are creating concern among tourists planning to visit the Caribbean, especially for one hotspot enjoyed by Maritimers. CTV's Emma Convey has more.
In Havana, flags are lowered to mourn 32 Cubans killed during the U.S. raid in Venezuela. Cuba has been providing security for Nicolas Maduro since he came to power.
Volatility of the situation in Venezuela. It's by no means solved. It's not resolved. So at any one point in time, I think the U.S. administration has said they're ready for a second wave of intervention if required.
The Trump administration has said that toppling Venezuela's leader would help advance another dream, dealing a major blow to Cuba. For decades, Canadians have made Cuba a top winter travel destination. Its beaches and resorts, mostly free of American visitors, have welcomed about 1 million Canadian tourists annually. But things could change.
International travel to the Caribbean is being impacted. I thought, when I saw what was going on Saturday morning, the Americans put in a notification about airspace being closed, along the Venezuelan coast.
In South America in particular, right now Venezuela is listed as avoid all travel, and other countries around that are travel with caution or just regular, take normal travel precautions.
The Canadian government has put up an avoid travel advisory to Venezuela, but Caribbean airspace is back open.
Wouldn't be my first choice right now. If I had something booked, I would go, but I don't know. I don't want it to be political, but,
I'd have to see, whether something adjusts or not, and then once it adjusts, maybe I would return, but right now I'd be too fearful.
If I was traveling there, I'd be, concerned about delays and stopovers and all that, right? But not out of fear that, the U.S. is going to do so. The U.S. not bad.
Kent with CAA says they have yet to see a dip in travel sales to the Caribbean.
Finances, the geopolitical situation, your own personal opinions, they all come into play.
Kent adds having a travel advisor is important during these times. And this is a reminder of the importance of travel and trip insurance. Emma Convey, CTV News at the Halifax Stanfield International Airport.
In tonight's CTV web poll, we're asking, are you hesitant to travel down south this winter due to the situation in Venezuela? And the options are, yes, I won't be traveling into the south this winter. No, I will be keeping my travel plans, or I don't plan on heading south anyway. We would like to hear from you at our website. For a New Brunswick cabinet manufacturer, U.S. tariffs are not an open and shut situation. Another round on finished products was expected. Then, in a surprise move, President Donald Trump put it off. As CTV's Laura Brown learned, that's offering some relief.
It was the last few hours of 2025 when kitchen cabinet manufacturer James McKenna received some unexpected but very welcome news.
We were extremely surprised, did not expect that it was happening, and greatly relieved. So first thing I did was got a hold of my U.S. customers, reached out to them and informed them of Trump's decision not to increase by 25%.
Upholstered furniture and finished wood products like cabinets and vanities were hit with a 25% tariff in October. U.S. President Donald Trump promised to increase it to 50% by January 1st. But in the 11th hour, Trump announced he would delay that move until 2027.
I think we can handle a 25% increase. Our U.S. customers are going to absorb half of it, and we're going to take half of it. At 50%, that would completely eliminate any chance of doing business with the U.S. And we've seen in December a drop-off in sales already, a drastic drop-off. Probably 50% of our sales in the U.S. have already gone away.
It definitely was a welcome relief, not a solution for us. As you mentioned earlier, we were hit October 1st with 25%, and in a manufacturing environment, that's very difficult to absorb.
There are no plans for layoffs at Glenwood Kitchens. James McKenna is hoping to find new markets this year and keep the ones he's already got in the States.
It's very difficult for us to plan our business. That's why, as a company, we're actively looking at business outside of the U.S. to try and recoup the loss, to grow our business. And if the U.S. business does come, that means we're all the better.
Laura Brown, CTV News, Fredericton.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Everyone agrees it's important to recruit and retain teachers in Nova Scotia. How to do it, though, well, that's another matter. A plan has been produced that the opposition and union want to see. The province, though, insists there's no need, that it's meeting the targets. Here's Jesse Thomas.
Since the COVID-19 pandemic, Nova Scotia's population has grown by 100,000 people, and the public school system has added 10,000 new students. That's put a lot of pressure on staffing, recruitment, and retention work, which the province says it's finally making headway on.
We have enough teachers to staff every classroom, more than 10,000 full-time teachers and 3,000 substitutes, with a very high retention rate and a responsive approach to recruitment, issuing approximately 850 teaching certificates last year.
But at this legislative committee meeting, unions and opposition politicians pressed the government to come up with a comprehensive recruitment and retention plan.
We cannot recruit our way out of a shortage if we continue to lose teachers at the current rate.
A committee studying recruitment and retention completed work before the school year started, making a list of recommendations to the Department of Education and Teachers Union. The NDP questions why that information is not being made public.
And by her own admission, the deputy minister said there were no state secrets in that document. If so, what is the harm with making public common goals that the union and the government will collaborate on so everybody understands the solutions that are being worked toward?
The department continues to track staffing closely and has recently created a data and analytics team to better understand the school system's needs.
Last year, 3% of the teachers retired. It's about 140 teachers. And 1.5% of teachers left the profession to do something else. We don't know what that something else is.
Barbarick says they plan to implement a better exit strategy to understand the loss. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Halifax.
We'll take a commercial break now. Coming up, Kaylin has warmer weather in the forecast. Katie has entertainment. But first, bridging generations.
It's a gorgeous, gorgeous bridge. We love that New Brunswick heritage of the covered bridges.
Another historic New Brunswick covered bridge is showing its age and problems. We're back in 2 minutes. We've been keeping track of the shrinking number of covered bridges in New Brunswick, and yet another has been closed to traffic because of the state it's in. Here again is CTV's Derek Haggett.
The future of another historic covered bridge in New Brunswick is up in the air. The province has closed the Cuchibaquaxis River No. 5, also known as Cameron's Mill Covered Bridge, for safety reasons.
It's a gorgeous, gorgeous bridge. We love that New Brunswick heritage of the covered bridges, and we love this property. It's a beautiful view looking out onto the bridge.
The Department of Transportation and Infrastructure says deterioration was discovered during a recent inspection. It's not known when or if repair work will begin on the 75-year-old structure.
We have to go around on the Des Herbiers road, which, you know, when it comes to the springtime, if they're still working on the bridge, that's a problem because it gets quite boggy.
3 historic covered bridges were lost in 2025, including the William Mitten Bridge, which was torn down in February. The Covered Bridges Conservation Association says only 56 remain in the province. There were around 350 in the 1950s.
The bridges are instruments of transportation, and that's their primary purpose. But I'd like to see more, our association would like to see more emphasis and credence given to their heritage and economic values as well.
As for the Cameron's Mill Bridge, the province says it's evaluating future options. Derek Haggett, CTV News, near Saint-Ignace, New Brunswick.
A Maritimer made his mark in the big leagues last night, scoring his first NHL goal. Jacob Melanson was all smiles in the dressing room, posing with the puck. The Amherst native netted one for his Seattle Kraken in their 5-1 win over the Calgary Flames last night. It came with a price, though. You can make out that bloodied nose. The former Truro Bearcat also played with Quebec City in the Q League. So congratulations to him. They'll be cheering in Amherst, no doubt. Okay, still to come, a mix of snow, freezing rain, and rain ahead for Wednesday. Kayla Mitchell returns with the full forecast in a couple of minutes. Things are looking wintry. This is this afternoon at the locks at Fall River.
It's a nice scene,
isn't it?
Yeah. You know, it might have made it a little bit more pleasant today, too. The fact that temperatures weren't nearly as cold. So if people were taking a stroll out there around the Fall River area, maybe didn't have to be quite as bundled up for it today. A little bit of light snow falling there. Going to be some flurries around the region as we move through tonight with the risk of some patchy freezing drizzle, but then we've got that more somewhat significant wintry mix coming in for tomorrow. It's not by any stretch of the imagination sort of the snowiest weather system we've had this season, but it is enough to create some slick spots out there, and that's what I'm kind of thinking about is the road surfaces, sidewalks, parking lots, driveways.
So I know you start out west and then you move east. Those temperatures in Alberta that we're going to see here are quite something for January. That's got all the hallmarks of a Chinook there in Calgary.
Yeah, you nailed it. There's some wind warnings out around the southwestern foothills of Alberta, and that is related to a Chinook wind, which is a warmer wind, but they can really pick up in their speeds coming in over the southern Rockies, and it tends to warm things up around that southwestern corner of Alberta. Calgary is seeing that right now, sitting at 4 degrees. Much colder air in place up around the north. Whitehorse -25, Yellowknife -24. Iqaluit not too bad, -8 right now, reporting some snow. It's been a mixture of rain, freezing rain, and snow in southern Ontario, and that same weather system is headed in our direction here in the Maritimes for tomorrow. Our temperatures right now in the region, -8 at Fredericton, -1 at Halifax, and -5 at Charlottetown. Let's take a look at our forecast timeline for cloud cover and precipitation. So again, for tonight, cloudy skies, scattered flurries, and along with the scattered flurries, a risk of some patchy freezing drizzle. So there may already be some slick spots around for the start of the day on Wednesday. Now, Wednesday morning into Wednesday afternoon is going to see this wintry mix develop for the Maritimes from the west to the east, and that is going to include at least some initial accumulating snow for much of New Brunswick before mixing with freezing rain and rain in southern areas of New Brunswick. Some snow in Prince Edward Island before mixing with some freezing rain and rain. Also potential for a little bit of snow in northern and eastern areas of Nova Scotia, especially the higher terrain, before mixing with freezing rain and rain. Now, the rainy part of this weather system looks like it is going to be much of Nova Scotia, with overall rainfall amounts around 5 to 15 millimeters. It also looks like the extreme southwestern corner of New Brunswick could get a little bit rainy as well. Graham and Ann up through Campobello and towards St. John. The more significant mix of snow and freezing rain for southern areas of New Brunswick, especially towards the southeast of the province, including around the Moncton area. It's one of those locations where I'm expecting things to get a little bit more slick through the day for tomorrow. tomorrow. Parts of Prince Edward Island and areas of northern Nova Scotia, Cumberland County, northern Colchester County. Remember, we have some special weather statements in effect around that part of the Maritimes. And along with the freezing rain, there's the potential there of seeing some snowfall accumulations that could range between around 5 and 15 centimeters. Other parts of the Maritimes, well, mostly New Brunswick, looking at some amounts of around 2 to 5 centimeters of snow. And again, for Nova Scotia, most other areas basically just looking at rain from this weather system. Winds aren't going to be particularly strong with it. They'll be out of the east for tomorrow. They'll be sustained 10 to 20 kilometers per hour. There will be some gusts getting up between 20 and 40 around the Bay of Fundy coastline in New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and for Nova Scotia. Low temperatures in the forecast for tonight for much of the region will be falling into a range of around 0 to -6, except between -8 and -16 as you move Fredericton and north in New Brunswick. Highs in the forecast for tomorrow in the north of New Brunswick between 0 and -4, with central and southern parts of that province with high temperatures between 0 and 3 degrees, 5 for Grand Manan. Prince Edward Island for tomorrow with high temperatures between around -1 and +1. In Cape Breton for tomorrow, the high temperatures between 1 and 3 degrees and between 2 and 4 degrees for the north shore and eastern shore of the mainland. Cumberland, Colchester counties, as well as in around the Minas Basin, Hants County and Halifax County with high temperatures tomorrow. In a lot of cases, getting up between 2 and 4 degrees, between 3 and 5 degrees for the Annapolis Valley, and between 3 and 5 degrees for the south shore of Nova Scotia. In the extended forecast for New Brunswick coming up on Thursday, there's a chance of flurries in the morning. Some isolated showers expected on Friday with temperatures milder. Saturday, a mix of sun and cloud, and then the possibility of some snow on Sunday and some chilly air arriving for the start of next week. Seasonably cold for Monday and Tuesday. For Nova Scotia in the outlook, we've got some flurries in the forecast for Thursday. Friday, a mix of sun and cloud, a chance of showers on Saturday. Rain for Sunday, followed by a chance of flurries at the start of next week as temperatures once again just turn a little bit more towards the chilly side. And for Prince Edward Island, some flurries for Thursday morning, followed by a mix of sun and cloud on Friday. Chance of showers on Saturday, followed by a mixture of showers and flurries on Sunday. Then some flurries for the start of next week with temperatures getting colder that Monday, Tuesday timeframe, Todd.
All right, we'll see you for the wake-up weather, Killen. Thank you. Next, we'll talk about how the emphasis on Venezuela's oil industry could impact this country. And then it's our daily hit of entertainment news.
Quake Matthews here. How are you doing? I want to let you know that I have a brand new album called Phantom out now, and we're celebrating this Saturday, January 10th at the Marquee with a live performance. I'll tell you more about it coming up. Stay tuned.
Okay, so coming up tomorrow, 7 a.m., get those keywords. Virgin Radio destroys your debt, and that's your chance to win $100,000. Good luck.
And get a shot at a $250 gift card to St. Louis Bar and Grill.
Welcome back on this Tuesday evening. As coverage of the situation in Venezuela continues, there is, of course, lots of conversation and speculation over oil production in the resource-rich country. Roger McKnight is Chief Petroleum Analyst with Enpro, and he joins us from Burlington, Ontario this evening. It's nice to see you, Mr. McKnight.
Good to see you, too.
Let's start off with what the markets had to say about this. We saw Canadian oil stocks slip about 3.5% yesterday. Would that be in direct relation to what happened on the weekend?
Yeah, I think people are getting a little bit overexcited about this. I think the problem is with the Canadian oil producers in Alberta, which is Cenovus, Suncor, and Canadian Natural Resources. They're probably hearing footsteps if a new pipeline is going to be proposed for the West Coast, which is in the works, I guess. That would or President Trump really goes nuts and brings in Venezuelan oil, which is a long way away. That will severely affect the imports of Canadian crude into the U.S. Gulf refining hubs. So that will make producers in Western Canada a little bit nervous, which is why you're probably seeing a little bit of a downward dip in the stock price, but we're a long way. I think we're quite a ways away from the panic button just yet.
Okay, well, let's back up and talk about that a bit. The president has made, in no uncertain terms, he wants oil firms from the U.S. going in there and start production. How likely are the Exxons and Chevrons of the world to start pumping money right away into a country that's so unstable?
I think President Trump is doing some wishful thinking here. If I was Chevron or any of the majors looking at Venezuela yet again, I would say, well, what is going to be the mood next week, next month, or next year? what is going to be the mood of the president if President Trump is not President Trump in 3 years? So could all this all change? And we go right back to where we started. If I'm going to put a couple $1 billion into a refining infrastructure, I want to make sure it's going to be there in a couple of years.
What kind of shape is the Venezuelan industry in?
It's pretty sad. It's been completely mismanaged. In the 1974 area, they were producing 3.5 million barrels a day. Today they're doing about 971,000. So it's complete political disrepair, complete refinery disrepair, complete mismanagement on all sides has made the Venezuelan oil industry an easy target for the Trump regime. However, to get that system up and running again will not take a couple of months or a year or two. It'll take several years and several billions and billions of dollars to get it going. It's something that the major oil companies, U.S. oil companies, may want to start drumming their fingers about.
We hear over and over in this trade dispute with the U.S. that business loves stability, and they're lacking that right now. And it sounds like this is a perfect example of that.
Oh, absolutely. It's a mood swing. I just don't know how to interpret how anybody else can interpret it. If you don't know what's going to happen next week or next year, that's not a very stable environment to start throwing money at. You're throwing money down the drain.
So how should Canada respond to this? In particular, how should the Canadian oil industry respond to this?
Well, I think when you're producing 3.5 million barrels a day of Alberta crude, and 80% of that is going to south of the border, you're pretty well your only customer. And that only customer is saying, well, maybe we can bring in Venezuelan oil, would snap our fingers, and we won't really need the Canadian crude. So I would say that the thing to do now is to really kickstart that memorandum of understanding, or turn it into a memorandum of action, because you can't run down the clock on this much longer, because the instability of south of the border is not something I would really want to rely on. And I think the politicians, both federal and provincial, should start sitting down and getting serious about a western pipeline to BC, and even the eastern pipeline. Rethink that one again, and get through Quebec and get it going out of the East Coast.
Yeah. So there was a degree of urgency before, of course, but now you think that's escalated that much more.
Yeah. I mean, don't run out the clock here on this one. This is if this isn't a wake up call, I don't think they'll ever wake up.
To your point earlier, though, Canada has competed with Venezuela in the past. I mean, there was a day that lots of oil used to get shipped around, and our producers used to, have to compete with them.
Yeah, well, now it's a bit difficult now. You've got to get it out. You've got to get it out of the country. Don't put everything going south of the border. Go to Asia's where the market is, and let's get going on it, for goodness sake.
Roger McKnight, it's a fascinating area of conversation. We appreciate you offering your insight tonight.
Yeah, it's pretty scary, too.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Very welcome.
We'll take a break. Much more of your newscasts still to come. Health news now. Are you dropping alcohol for dry January? Experts say abstaining or cutting back even for a short amount of time can make you healthier. CTV's Callum Smith has more in the Tuesday edition of The Lifeline.
If you're looking for a healthier start to 2026, experts say trying to stay sober is a good step. A University of New Mexico psychologist says even 4 weeks away from alcohol can make a big difference. While it can be difficult to follow through, having others join in can be helpful. Benefits can include sleep improvements, increased energy, weight loss, greater physical activity, and improved general well-being. But if you break away from the mocktails or other alcohol-free drinks, you can always get back on track. Despite being a critical part of our overall health, many of us overlook mental and emotional well-being. It affects how we think, act, and feel. That's why one expert says this year we should focus on eating a healthy diet, getting in regular exercise, and getting enough good quality sleep. Other ideas include staying socially connected and engaging in healthy hobbies such as knitting. But it's also important to know when we need to slow down and take a break. South of the border, the United States has dropped the number of vaccines it recommends for children, a move that some leading medical groups say would undermine protections against a half-dozen diseases. The change means, effective immediately, broad vaccination is no longer recommended for flu, rotavirus, Hep A and B, some forms of meningitis, or RSV. It will only be recommended for high-risk people. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services said the overhaul was in response to a request from President Donald Trump last month. Trump had asked the agency to review how peer nations approach vaccine recommendations and consider revising U.S. guidance accordingly. With health and medical news, I'm Callum Smith for The Lifeline.
We're on the scene with Katie Kelly, and I think it's fair to say that most people would think that only big hip-hop moments happen in big urban settings.
Exactly.
You're here to tell us tonight that's not the case.
It certainly isn't. Quake Matthews is proving that East Coast talent can also land on the world stage.
The chances are low, the pressure is high, it's all on the line. They're trying to move slow, but racing with time, cause it's do or die.
For Nova Scotia rapper Quake Matthews, the grind isn't a phase, it's a way of life.
When I watch Netflix or I become lazy for the day, I start getting depressed. I feel like I'm not doing anything. I'm the type of guy that has to always be working towards something. It makes me feel fulfilled, you know?
That relentless mindset opened a door he never saw coming, landing him a spot on a hip-hop icon's latest album.
So Ice Cube had a contest where he put his single out and he left a space for anyone in the world it was open to, and it was like, do your verse, and he's gonna pick the best verse to be on his album. So I don't know how many entries there were, 10,000 or something, and I just figured, you know, he's probably gonna pick someone from his hometown, LA or something like that. But no, he went with the Nova Scotian, and now I'm on his album.
Pull your card like a dealer on the Reno Strip, at the blackjack table, make casinos flip.
I got to go to Detroit and meet him, because he has a basketball league called the Big Three, so I got to go sit courtside, feel like a big star, hang with Ice Cube, and he couldn't have been a cooler guy.
For an independent artist, that kind of validation can change everything.
You know, sometimes doing this music thing, there's ups and downs, and sometimes you wonder if you're on the right path. And when things like that happen, it kind of reassures you, like, okay, I got something special here, which I knew anyways.
We all do. We all know. We all know.
With that momentum, Quake went straight back to work on a brand new project.
So this album is produced by Street Runner, who is a Grammy-winning producer from the States. He produced for people like Eminem, Jay-Z, Lil Wayne. And I got to also work with Young Buck on there, legendary rapper.
The result is called Phantom.
And it's loosely based off the Phantom of the Opera. It's my opera, and it's kind of dark and cinematic, and I just feel like it's just that emotional energy, but also that sense of urgency and that unmasking, if you will.
And this weekend, he's bringing that energy to a hometown stage.
So it's at the Marquee. It's Saturday, January 10th. It's gonna be special. And I never really perform in Halifax. This is like a solar eclipse. It happens once in a while, and I don't think people are gonna wanna miss it. There's a lot of special things planned for the evening.
My ego gonna be bigger than Gaze when this song get released, I swear. They know it's my ego.
Todd, I was wondering if you were a little disappointed that Ice Cube didn't pick your verse to go on his song.
Yeah, I put it together quick.
Okay, maybe next time.
Yeah, maybe next time. You and I have been covering, between the two of us, music around here for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
That is exceptional.
Isn't that cool? So proud of Quake.
Thousands and thousands to be selected for, you know, Ice Cube is in hip-hop. He's the tops, right?
And just truly so well-deserved. He puts his heart and soul into everything, and he's so clever. Even just in conversation, you hear just the little things he says. I'm like, how do you think of this? He's amazing. Always so proud of Quake.
Yeah.
He was one of my first interviews. I've been interviewing Quake. I think he's one of the people I've interviewed the most over the last 10 years. And that show, we love to support Quake, happening this Saturday night at the Marquee. Details are on our website. If you don't have plans, please get out and see him because it's going to be a great show.
Yeah, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
As we go to break, we want to let you know about a story you'll see tonight on CTV National at 11.
I'm Maria Saru in Charlottetown. Tonight on CTV National News. Canadians are back to work after the holidays, but job happiness is slipping.
There always is a time off tax.
What new numbers suggest is driving the dip and how it could rebound. Tonight on CTV National News and ctvnews.ca.
Dow wrapped the trading day up 484 points. Canadian oil stocks were dragged down on Monday by the news from Venezuela. We talked about that earlier in the interview segment. Well, concerns around the future of the sector are causing all kinds of consternation, and investors were a little nervous again today. BNN Bloomberg's Marilla Fernandez has more.
Canadian oil companies had been hoping for a stock rebound today, but didn't get it. They got hit on Monday after the weekend capture of the Venezuelan leader. It raises concerns about a bigger supply of oil coming from that country under Washington's guidance, and that could compete or replace Canadian oil exports. Cenovus Energy, Athabasca Oil, and Canadian Natural Resources stocks were all down again today. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is down to 72.42. West Texas Intermediate down over $1 to 57.13. Western Canadian Select is up 51 cents to 44.44. And the TSX gained 188 points today for the second record close of the week. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
Kayla Mitchell's outside with temperatures that are on the way up.
Yeah, it's a little bit more comfortable out here this evening compared to last evening. It's not as cold, though there is a flurry on the go out here in the north end of Halifax at the moment. Remember, with the scattered flurries around the Maritimes tonight, there is a risk of some patchy freezing drizzle along with them. Let's take a look at a viewer picture for tonight. So this is a beautiful one. It's coming in from Wallace, Nova Scotia. It features the lobster trap Christmas tree there. It was sent in from Martin McDonald. You can see it looking like a very wintry scene. Wallace is one of those areas in Nova Scotia for tomorrow that might have to watch out for a bit more of a slippery mix of snow, freezing rain, and rain. Much of the rest of the province, aside from parts of Cumberland and northern Colchester County, mostly seeing rain under this weather system. It is that wintry mix of weather developing west to east as we go from Wednesday morning and into Wednesday afternoon. And once again, some of the areas at greatest risk of freezing rain include southern areas of New Brunswick, that northern part of mainland Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, as well as the Cape Breton Highlands. Let's find out what's coming up on your Morning Atlantic.
Wednesday on Your Morning Atlantic, the Winter Wine Passport.
You may not traditionally think of visiting wineries in winter, but several Nova Scotian wine producers are keeping the doors open for a special celebration.
Start your morning with us Wednesday on Your Morning Atlantic on CTV2 and Crave.
And here at 6 tomorrow, taking off, there's been a shift in popular destinations for Canadian travelers, not to mention the issue with what's going on in the south. We will speak to an expert on what's trending for travel in the coming year. That's coming up tomorrow here at 6 o'clock. And finally for us tonight, a pawn shop in Tennessee is cleaning up after an unusual crime was reported. Elias Rold shows us the aftermath of some monkey business.
A Morristown pawn shop runs a tight ship, but 24/7 security and plenty of surveillance cameras couldn't stop this break-in.
We come in the door about probably 8:20, and it was a disaster.
But this wasn't your typical pawn shop problem, and the suspect wasn't looking for cash.
I went back and I said, "What is it?" And there was the little Chester, the little brown capuchin monkey sitting right in that door.
The furry culprit made his way in through a doggy door and past the pawn shop cats, all captured on surveillance video.
There was monkey messes everywhere.
It was a crime of opportunity and a little monkey business.
He really hated computer keyboards. There was 3 computer keyboards just bashed. The keys were laying in the floor.
In a store full of instruments, it was a jam session no one signed up for.
There was bags of potato chips busted from our crackers. I watched him open a pack of crackers and eat some.
Even the best detectives have to wonder.
What are they thinking about? I don't know.
After 5 decades, something a pawn shop's never seen.
In my wildest dream, could not have dreamt that.
A smash and grab without the grab. But this hometown store is now back to normal.
It's just a great place to live.
Even with monkeys.
Even with monkeys, right.
Do monkeys just roam around Tennessee? I guess. All right, that's our look at the day here at home. Bruce is here at 11:30. The website has our updates anytime. I'm Todd Battis. Have a good night.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast. Watch live on Crave.